And I'm going to cook a recipe from my book, which is called New Kitchen Basics. It's got 10 chapters of 10 fundamental ingredients we all have in our kitchen, and as we're all cooking so much at home, I think it's a pretty useful book. So I'm going to cook the dark chocolate, pistachio and dried cherry torte from the book today. I don't have any dried cherries because they were out at the shop, so I'm going to use barberries instead. These are like a little wild berry that are popular in Iran. They're sour, fruity and pretty much like a wild dried cherry. Okay, this is such an easy cake to bake. I've got some soft brown sugar. I've got some plain flour. You could do self-raising flour if you haven't got plain and miss out the baking powder, so that goes in there. Likewise, you could do spelt or rye or wholemeal flour. I've got 50 grams of butter, which is cold, and you could use a food processor to do this, but it's such a little amount, I'm just going to do it by hand. I'm just going to rub it into the flour and the sugar like you do for pastry, so you want a kind of sandy mixture. It's quite a nice thing to do. So just rub, 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 rub. And it's a good cake. Well, it's not a cake really, it's more a torte this. It's sort of dense, dark, chocolatey, fruity torte. And it's popular with grown-ups because it's got spice and dark chocolate, but my kids like it too. And we're all baking so much at Easter because we're all at home so much. Right, it's nearly there. 2 more minutes. Well, not even a minute. Pinch of salt is good to do in baking because the salt sort of elevates the sweetness and you can reduce sugar content a bit, I find. So always, mostly always, I add a pinch of salt. So that's there. Got a pinch of salt. I've got some cardamom. Got a lot of spices on my shelf. Got a good pinch of ground cardamom. I love cardamom. I love the smell of it. Kind of like anise and clove. And I'm going to do a pinch of cinnamon too. Let me just find it. Here. And a good, well, I think a teaspoon actually. So always by eye, it's fine, the spices. That. And then half of this mixture, when it's looking like that, I'm going to put in another bowl, just do it by eye again, so half. Maybe a bit much. Into this half, I'm going to add a tablespoonful of cocoa powder. Give that a bit of a mix. And I'm going to use that half to make the sort of biscuit base to the torte. So a good way to do this is to get a piece of greaseproof paper, fold it in half, fold it in half again, fold it in a triangle, fold it in a triangle. Put that in the middle of your tin, chop, and you should come out with a round that fits your tin perfectly. So I'm using a smaller tin for this, little tiny cake tin, and you just put this into the cake tin. And what you're going to do then is you're just going to slightly press it down, and this will be a sort of biscuity, chocolatey base to the torte. Okay, I've got an egg here, 1 egg. They're at a premium, so it's a good recipe for only using 1 egg. Give that a bit of a mix. With the other half of the mixture, you're going to add the egg. And you're going to add some sour cream, but you could use yogurt or creme fraiche if you can't get sour cream. I'm all for recipes that are a bit, you know, fluid, especially in times like this. If not that, then this is a good maxim in baking. Right, that's all mixed up as a little mixture. I've got some pistachios, but you could use walnuts or hazelnuts or almonds or anything really. I say 40 grams, but about a handful. Very nice. Mash that up. And then You're going to add those to the cake mix. Keep a few back for the top, it's quite nice. Going to add again 40 grams, but about a handful. And if you're using dried cherries, maybe chop them up because they'll be bigger. They're really lovely, the Barbary. And I've got some dark chocolate. If you'd rather use milk, go for it. They're roughly chopped, so you want some big chunks to melt and some to be a bit smaller. Such a quick cake to bake. It's not cake, it's torte. Roughly chopped. Keep a few chunks back for the top into there. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon for the baking powder. Into there. Move that on. Get our cake tin. And then we're going to just pop that on there. And what will happen is the biscuit crust will go all kind of crisp and dark and chocolatey. And this will puff slightly with the egg and the baking powder. And it's a really quick bake. It's about 35 minutes at 175 or so. I'm going to put this chocolate over the top because I just like it a little bit melty. The last pistachios. A couple more. Right, I'm going to just bake that, and that's what it looks like raw. Okay, this has been out of the oven for 10 minutes, and that's perfect, really. So it's cooling off the handle. I've got some extra sour cream here in a bowl. And I'm going to take a nice, it's all soft in the top and biscuity at the bottom. Can you see that? The split layer is lovely. And I think it is really nice with a little bit of extra cream. Okay, that's sour, cherry, well, Barbary, pistachio and dark chocolate cake.